I'm saying everything's the worst thing. Yeah, everybody eats shit in North America. So the worst thing ever, now something you can do at breakfast time, is to have carbs at breakfast. This frustrates me to no end. I'm going to get up, I'm going to have some oatmeal, I'm going to fuel up for the day. Oh, horse crap. The worst thing you can possibly do. Okay? Your energy for the day in your glycogen stores are from 24 hours before. They come from the previous day. So carb timing and the timing of sugars is really important. So when we get up in the morning, there's a lot of cool stuff that's really going on in our body, like really cool stuff. One is we have a high amount of that neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. The one that I said that takes your brain and connects it to your body for focus, task, memory, coordination for the day. Acetylcholine is at peak levels. The other thing that's at a really high level is testosterone. So guys wake up like this. Oh, hey buddy. What's up? Right? So this testosterone is really high in the morning, even for women. Obviously for genetic reasons, don't get boners. And the other thing that's going on is that we're still secreting some growth hormone. Our highest amount of growth hormone comes out in our deepest period of sleep. But when we wake up, we still have growth hormone going on. Okay? So we have these three really beneficial hormones. Testosterone, which builds strength, creates muscle, burns fat. Growth hormone, which helps your body, prevent disease and also burns fat. Acetylcholine, which is connecting your brain to your body for the entire day. Those are all really high. But insulin, he's a total asshole. So you eat carbs, you eat sugar at breakfast. I don't care if you had a tablespoon of white sugar or you had a bowl of oatmeal. They both secrete insulin. Okay? When you consume a starchy carb, like a potato or oatmeal or whatever, okay? All starch is, okay? Starch is just a bunch of molecules of sugar that are chained together, as opposed to just normal sugar being like this. As soon as starch goes into your mouth, you produce saliva, so we can start to break it down. In your saliva, you produce an enzyme called salivary amylase. Now, it's called amylase because the starch is actually called in the myelopectin structure. Amylase breaks the bonds before you swallow starch. When you swallow starch, you swallow sugar. Now, it won't spike insulin the same way that white sugar does, but it still spikes insulin. And when insulin turns on, it comes in and says, screw you acetylcholine, screw you testosterone, and screw your growth hormone. Insulin's here, I'm taking over. Shuts them all off. You just stop connecting your brain to your body. You just stop creating strength and recovery through testosterone. You just stop preventing disease with growth hormone. Because insulin was offset. So, what do you eat for breakfast, Scott? Oh, that's pretty easy. Protein does not set off insulin, fat does not set off insulin, and fiber does not set off insulin. So it's really easy to remember. If it is, and here's where dieting for the general population at mass can be very easy because everybody overcomplicates it. If it's a vegetable, not fruit, if it's a vegetable that grows above the ground, eat as much of it as you want and eat it at any time of day until you're blue in the face. It's going to be loaded with nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, and fiber and water. That's it. If it is a vegetable, that grows below the ground, or it is fruit, it is only within an hour after physical activity that you want to eat them. The one time a day you want to set off insulin is after you've been super physically active. The reason for that being is the number one energy source for our muscles is glucose, or which is called glycogen, right? So we eat those carbohydrates, the sugary and the starchy ones, post-workout, goes through our digestive system. Our liver is going to convert it into glycogen, and it's going to send it to the muscles, and right after training, your muscles is like, yeah, I need glycogen, I used it all up. Your muscles soak it all in, and you replenish your glycogen. The odds of storing fat post-workout, really bottom of the priority list in your body, right? So you recover your glycogen. You've rebuilt your glycogen so you'll have energy for when you train again the next day. And if you didn't train the next day, the glycogen will slowly deplete if you don't eat any other starchy carbs the next day, right? However, we get up, we have carbs at breakfast, oatmeal, Captain Crunch, whatever your fix is, right? Sugar, starch, you're setting off insulin. You set off that insulin, okay? You haven't been physically active, you've actually been asleep the entire night, okay? Your glycogen is already replenished from your post-workout meal the day before, or from the carbs you had the day before. Your liver converts those carbs again. It wants to send them to the muscles. Muscles like, all full up here, man. I don't get it in your room. Go back to the liver. Goes back to the liver. The liver's like, I'll let you hang out here for a little bit, okay? But after a while, like a bad gas, the liver wants to kick it out. So it tries one more time to send the muscles. Muscles say, no, I don't want you. The liver goes, well, I don't want you. but I don't want to get rid of you. This person just ate you. They must eat it. I'm going to put you over here for later. Where do you think over here for later is? Fat storage, right? So insulin can be beneficial as a nutrient-delivering, glycogen-delivering hormone post-workout, or it can be a total asshole and make you fat when you secrete it other times of the day when you don't need to, right? So, processed food with labels, a lot of them secrete insulin, right? All the fiber content's been taken out, the moisture's been taken out, right? Processed foods are just brutal, right? Plus there's going to be other stuff in there like MSG and colorants and, you know, all kinds of great stuff. There's like huge studies that we're seeing now with the Orthomolecular Society that relates food diet to ADD and ADHD, right? They did a study with 86 kids, completely removed dyes. That was the one change they made, completely removed dyes from their diets. Their cognitive function went up drastically. Attention span went up, temperament went down, food diet, brutal. And they'll hide it. I mean, there's, you know, MSG at this point has like 200 names, right? And again, how do you avoid that? If food has a label, it's not supposed to have a label, right? If you do want to have a cheat meal and you want to buy food with a label, just go to Google and type MSG names and look on there. So, because like I sell whey protein, right? So I sell whey protein isolate. Really awesome protein, you know, gets in, feeds your muscles, breaks down amino acids, right? But you can buy like an old El Paso taco kit that says whey protein isolate. But it's not the same whey protein isolate that I sell, because whey protein isolate, it's like, you know, it's like $25 a pound, okay? You think they're putting that in old El Paso taco kits? No, whey protein isolate is a legal name that they can actually give to MSG because they isolated and modified and bastardized whey protein into MSG. So they just, you know, they really tricky. They were really, really tricky. Now,
families that don't have a lot of money, like the ones that are on minimum wage and they have 4 kids and they really can't afford those foods.
yeah, and so, and that can come into play. So I just like give you my background. Like I grew up super, super poor. I'm like very lucky now that, you know, I was able to get an education and I have 5 stores and I'm doing well. But yeah, so we grew up super, super poor. One thing is, you know, go to the grocery store and become like a ticket shopper. Okay. When I opened my first store, I was like red ass broke. I had to take a huge loan to open my first Popeyes. I mean, now I got more. I was lucky. I was successful. But it was tight. So what did we do? Is like we just got to the grocery store like really early when stuff had like the stickers on it, right? It's like, oh, well, like look for the dozen eggs, like organic eggs, right? Because organic eggs are expensive, right? They're like $7 a dozen versus like $3 a dozen. But you see like a 50% sticker and you open it up there and one is cracked or broken, you're still going to get 11 eggs for a half price a dozen, right? So you can do that, you know, look for the fruit that's like maybe marked down and then freeze it, or you can still buy frozen, okay? So frozen vegetables that grow above the ground, which will be packaged and have a label, you can get away with, okay? Because frozen vegetables and fruit, they retain like 80 to 90% of their nutrient value, okay? You don't want to eat canned, all right? It's like low BPA, increases your estrogen if you want your period to be 3 days longer than eat canned vegetables. Yeah, burn that stuff. Yeah, BPA is really bad. So it's just like it'll take a couple trips like to the grocery store to like really like look and be smart and look for those tickets and you know and get them right. Like, you know, every grocery store has like that produce that's like we got to get rid of it today kind of deal, right? You can buy that and chop it up and freeze it, or you know, prepare some meals and chop and freeze it. I mean, that's what we did for like months on end, right? But if you do start going to the farmer's market, like, you know what, it's not as expensive as people think, right? And the thing too is when we eat processed food, is that they do, you know, make us believe that it is like cheaper to eat processed food. But when we look at people eating a real food diet, right, there's a bit higher natural fats and has a higher fiber content. Fats and fiber are very satiating. They make you feel fuller for longer and reduce cravings. So, when you look at foods that are real foods, right, look at vegetables that grow above the ground, they have a very high value of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and fiber, but a very low content of calories, right? When you look at processed food, they offer us a ton of calories with no other benefit, right? And they increase cravings. So eventually with processed food, it will even out that you could be eating a healthy food with the same price you get processed food, because processed food is consistently making you hungry, right? Then you also have the expense of like being sicker more often and dealing with that as well, right? But you, like, if you look like, there's really good food box programs too, where it's like you can like know that it's coming for the winter, and they'll like deliver food boxes every week that you pick up or whatever, and you can pay for those like months in advance. So you have like a yearly, monthly fee that you pay, and then when winter comes around, like you're getting your produce or whatever. So there's like programs like that. It's just to really get out there and look around, but it can be done for like near like the same cost. To be completely honest, yeah. It just takes a little bit of homework and a bit of checking around for sure. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the produce, especially if you want to look like for tickets or better produce prices, and also look at the flyer, right? That blue bag they throw in the driveway every Thursday. Get it out and see what's on special. So maybe one week you're gonna rock celery and carrots, and the next week you're rocking, spinach and blueberries. Whatever. You're getting a variety of nutrients and a vast array from different foods, right? Who wants to eat broccoli every week anyway, right? You can often see that the frozen bags from at least one brand in one of the major chain grocery stores, are on for like $1, right? Or you just buy the no name. It's all the same anyway, right? Yeah.
Speaking of vegetables, I tend to stay away from things like corn because I've read a lot of things about GMOs.
Not a vegetable. Corn is actually a grain. They trick you, huh? They throw that asshole in the vegetable section.
But when you look in the grocery aisle, the freezer section, all you can see is like the corn and the corn and peas and the corn and carrots and peas mixed together.
Yeah. So, and that's where it comes down to GMOs. Yeah. GMOs are really bad, right? So, does anybody know about GMOs? Everybody on the big like Monsanto Facebook kick last year that did nothing. Likes don't fix problems. So GMOs happen, or genetically modified organisms. They would go back as far as the 50s. First GMO was a seedless watermelon. So they modified the genes of watermelon so it didn't have seeds. Not too bad, okay? But now we've modified food, even our produce, even our healthy foods, right? Multiple times over, right? So they can have brighter colors, better shelf life. You go into Costco and it's like, look at these strawberries from like friggin' New Zealand that are like, look like they were picked like 3 hours ago, and they probably were at Costco for a week and still look fresh, right? Those are GMOs. So how do you get around like that GMO thing? There's a couple apps for anybody who has a smartphone that you can get that will help keep your costs down and help you keep good. One is called the Clean 15. Okay? The Clean 15 is going to give you the 15 items in the produce aisle that you can get away with, that have been the least modified, the least sprayed, right? That you get away, these aren't going to really hurt you too much. But then the other one's called the Dirty Dozen. The 12 things in the produce aisle you absolutely do not buy non-organic. Top of the list, consistently, month after month, year after year, spinach and strawberries. Okay? Spinach and strawberries are both heavily sprayed, heavily modified. They're so porous that the toxins, the pesticides, the herbicides, and the fungicides, so all the way to the middle, you cannot wash them off. Okay? Pesticides are made to kill bugs, are made to kill living cells, living creatures. You don't want to eat pesticides.
What is so bad about GMOs? Because even just by the natural selection, genes are modified, so I don't get why it's so bad.
It's at too high of a rate, right? So if we look at the past like 10,000 years, the human digestive system has changed less than 1%. Okay? But we've modified food 400%. All right? And our body realizes that when we eat it. Okay? So when we take a look, because GMOs, like I said, they've been around a long time, they came in a mass introduction in the early 90s. Okay? When I went to school, right, it wasn't like illegal to bring a turkey sandwich or a peanut butter sandwich. Nobody was going to get up and die, okay, from smelling peanut butter, which happens now, right? They asphyxiate. Their throat closes off and they die. Okay. So we look at the rate of allergies in children now that has drastically gone up. And we look at the rate of different modified things that we find in fetal cord blood, right? The fetal cord blood now has like 86 pollutants in it. When a baby is born, it's already toxic. It's brutal, right? And a lot of that's food that the mother's eating. But so GMOs, they set out that they're a big reason for this big spike in allergies. A huge reason. We look at the highest allergies, okay? The highest allergies are to peanuts, soy, milk, and eggs, and wheat. What do you think the 5 top most modified foods are? The 5 most GMO foods. The exact same ones as the exact same 5 highest allergies. Not Batman, the world's greatest detective, but I'm also not an idiot, right? So, do you have to eat everything non-GMO? If you can afford to eat everything non-GMO, absolutely. If you cannot, when you get those apps, get the Dirty Dozen, or go on the internet and find the Dirty Dozen, and the Clean 15, and at least do that. like spinach, strawberries, like absolutely organic. So the only time you're going to get strawberries, folks, is the summer when they're local and organic, right? So, yeah, so it's messing with things. Yeah, it's like in through natural selection, yeah, where things are changing, but when you change it too high a rate, your body's going to resist, and then we get these reactions, right? So, yeah, GMOs are bad. And the other reason too, so beyond the food being modified and its genes being different, the reason that they modified those foods is so that they don't die, so that the plant doesn't die when they spray a shit ton of chemicals on it. Herbicide, fungicide, pesticide, big planes flying over, just dumping gallons upon gallons of toxic chemicals onto those foods. So that's why they modify the genes, so they can put all that crap on and then the food doesn't die. So if they need to put all that on there so that the food doesn't die, which is a living organism, and then you're supposed to eat that food, it's brutal. You're gonna die! slow, brutal, DNA modified death. Yeah, that's why they did it, right? And it just comes in the lobby, comes in to money, and Monsanto's worth trillions and trillions of dollars. Luckily, the world's smartening up. I mean, most of Europe has banned GMOs now. We even have 7 states that have finally banned GMOs, Hawaii being the first one, right? Hopefully Canada will follow at some point. But it just comes down, they get more money than we do, all right? So you have like one company that's controlling the world's food supply. That's like not the greatest thing. Now, I mean, where GMOs did kind of do a plus, okay, was that they do allow certain foods to get to poorer cultures, right, intact so that they can eat them, right? So the starving cultures and stuff, it's like the one good thing they do that they'll hide behind. That's like 1% of the GMO food market. So I think maybe they should just find a better farming routine or put money to that, locally, or I don't know, people to move to shitty places. So it's GMOs are that's why they're bad. Yeah. More questions?
If we go back to the breakfast, you said protein, fat, and fibers.
Yeah.
What would be like a good breakfast?
So I mean, there's all kinds of combinations you can do. I think any dead animal, right? Whether any above the ground veggie, and which is going to have fiber, depending on the protein source. It may already have fats. We're eating free-range hen's eggs. For every egg you eat the yolk. I don't want to hear this egg white omelet shit. I make an egg white omelet with 3 whites and 1 yolk. Why would you do that? Okay, you have 3 grams of protein in the yolk. You have 3 grams of fat, 1.5 unsaturated, which is good to make hormones. The other 1.5 grams unsaturated, plus all kinds of B vitamins and zinc and magnesium and sulfur, all kinds of really cool stuff that are in those egg yolks on a mineral basis that are going to feed your body as well. So eggs are really, really good. Organic eggs, not GMO eggs, right? It tastes like metal. So those are really good. I'm a huge fan, even though it's expensive, I'll only do it once in a while, but like smoked salmon, like raw salmon for breakfast is amazing, right? Pasture-fed bacon, right? There's your fats, right? Pasture-fed bacon with like some eggs, it's awesome. So you cook up like a 1/4 pound of pasture-fed bacon, fry the eggs in the fat, there's still a bunch of fat left, I'll throw either like mushrooms or spinach in it, like throw spices on it, and that's it. Fat, protein, fiber, and nutrients. And that's what I'll eat for breakfast. And the first 3 or 4 days that you do this, I'm not going to lie to you, the first 3 or 4 days that you switch from waking up and having carbs to an acetylcholine boosting breakfast, the first 3 or 4 days you're going to be dragging ass. You're just going to feel like your knuckles are dragging, okay? Because your body's expecting that insulin spike. It's expecting to get that, unusable energy. So when that doesn't happen and insulin doesn't get set off, because it's a hormone, right? Your body's like waiting for that hormonal response at a certain time, and you don't give it to it. It's going like, oh, I feel really weird. I was expecting something and I didn't get it. So for 3 or 4 days you feel really weird. But on like day 5 or 6, once acetylcholine starts doing its work, unreal. And I can tell you from anybody here who's doing Ollie lifts, that was a big focus on Olympic lifting, if you stick to an acetylcholine hormone balancing diet, within 3 weeks, I'm not going to promise you, maybe your technique's shitty as mine, but if your technique is good, a 10 to 20 pound PR on your Ollie lifts. I've done it with 3 athletes in the past 2 months, simply by changing their diet. PRs on squats, snatches. Yeah. So, and why is that? Why all of a sudden they getting those PRs on these very complicated lifts? Because what does acetylcholine do? It connects your brain to your body for coordinative tasks and functions. So you become better at doing what you're repeatedly doing, right? So I think also you can do that. I mean, it's just like really like any animal source, protein, solid protein, eat real food at breakfast.
So you
Okay?
don't recommend bananas in the morning?
No, don't eat bananas in the morning. Right, then there's this whole thing where it's like, as bananas get older, they turn into more starch and they lose some of their sugar content as when they were green. But remember what I said about starches? Starches are just a chain of sugars. So you still set up insulin. So the stuff you get away with at breakfast.
What if you go
Any-
to the gym first thing in the morning?
You still have your carbs post-workout. And if you went to the gym the previous morning and had your carbs post-workout and loaded 80 to 85% of your starchy carbs in your post-workout meal from the days previous, you store your glycogen for the following day. Right? So that's how it works. That's why the post-workout feeding is so important.
So you
Yeah.
would have to eat or drink before you do it?
No, you still eat or drink something.
Before
It's
you
not.
work out.
Yeah, just not starches or sugars. Yeah, just not starches or sugars. Yeah. Don't have banana every morning. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. So, and, you know, I'm not going to tell you that fruit is bad. Okay, like there's vitamins and minerals, and yes, there's fiber and there's nutrients and stuff. But I'm a really huge fan of vegetables that grow above the ground. Okay, they assimilate very, very, very easy. The fiber content, the vitamin, mineral content is all readily absorbed. If you're eating, 10 servings of above ground vegetables a day, you're incidentally getting enough fiber, right? And fiber is important. I got off, it was poo science where I was when I come back. I don't know why I pointed at you. Anyway, so above ground vegetables are not going to set off that insulin, right? So above ground vegetables as much as you want any time of day, right? And then protein and fats don't set off the insulin as well. And when you have high fats, especially from nuts, okay, your acetylcholine goes up. So if you train in the morning, a really good thing you could get up and that you could do, and don't tell me again, don't let me have enough time, get up, have a couple eggs, and just a handful of nuts, okay? If you don't have time in the morning, then just scramble the 2 eggs the night before, and then heat them up in the morning in a pan. If you have a microwave, take a hammer, smash it, and throw it up next to it. Horrible things, if you have pans that are coated in Teflon, please throw them away. Seriously, Teflon is so bad, right? So Teflon is made to be non-stick, it's very chemical, and it's a huge toxin, but it's made to be non-stick, so what our body cannot do is it cannot get these fat cells to go around and block that toxin. Teflon gets into general circulation. It's really, really bad stuff, so what's the best thing to cook on? Number one, stone cookware is the best, but it's also like $130 for a frying pan, so nobody can get that. Ceramic, coated, cast iron is super affordable. Super affordable. Superstore makes their own line now. You get a really awesome ceramic coated cast iron pan for like 20-25 bucks. So ceramic cast iron. You can go traditional cast iron if you want. Just have fun trying to keep it that. Teflon, get rid of that stuff. Brutal. But yeah, so you're training in the morning. Huge fan of protein, protein source, and it's a handful of nuts. Cashews, macadamia, walnuts, almonds. Change the nut source every couple of weeks so you don't develop an intolerance. Right? If you consistently abuse the same protein source over and over every day, you will eventually become non-responsive to it. Right? So I eat eggs probably 5 mornings out of the week. Then something like this morning I had moose meat and some other stuff. Right? So I'll just switch it up. But yeah, it's constantly vary your protein source as well. You'll get a better spectrum of amino acid profile as well. Peanut is not a nut. Oh, it's like corn. So it's a little asshole who hides out in the nut section. But it's a grain. Peanuts are grains. Phytic acid and lectins abound yet again and cause digestive upset. Again, they're the most GMO foods, the most allergenic. If you do like peanuts, it needs to be in moderation. If you like peanut butter, it needs to be in moderation, and it absolutely should be organic. Absolutely.
Would you recommend almond butter?
Almonds great. Almonds are great. They're actually nuts. Yeah. But yeah, peanuts are not actually nuts. They're grains, just like corn is.
That's what I have with my banana.
You need to talk. But that's where it comes down to too. There's a lot of information guide, right? So what's my issue with the food guide? Besides that it's absolutely horrible, right? Like, oh, eat like 8 servings of whole grains a day and eat tons of dairy. I haven't even started shitting on dairy yet. Wait till I get there. Okay? So eat tons of whole grains and have tons of dairy and be healthy. Listen, the food guide is funded by industry. The industries that give the most money to the food guide are the wheat and dairy industry, so they are featured prominently. Okay? The dairy industry is worth billions, if not trillions of dollars. Okay? Versus like Johnny's Apple Farm or whatever. It doesn't have that much money. The produce, market, unfortunately, has nowhere near as much money as big industry to give into food guide. So these lobbyists come in and they're going to say, oh, whole grains are high in fiber and high in omega-3. Like versus their weight, no, they're not. 2, the benefits of any fiber from whole grains is offset by the phytic acid and lectins that destroy your gut. So the fiber is not helping you. In grains is not helping your gut whatsoever, right? Here's the deal. So everyone's like, oh, this bread, they said they have as much omega-3 as a serving of salmon. Okay, it's not apples to apples on this one. Okay, so you have a couple slices of bread, and you're like, oh, cool, my 2 slices of bread had a gram of omega-3 because it's like a whole grain bread. Okay, the omega-3 that is in grains is in a form called ALA. Okay, ALA can be converted into the actual beneficial forms like we find directly in fish of EPA and DHA, but at a rate of 4%. How much grain do you think you would need to eat to get a beneficial amount of EPA and DHA? The next time you go to the bathroom, your intestines are just going to fall out. They're just going to be dead. All right? So it's just absolutely brutal. So it's just trickery. It's just like food market trickery. Omega-3 bread, right? Or like even the omega-3 enriched eggs. They don't tell you what kind of omega-3 that's in there. I can tell you right now, they're not putting fish oil into eggs. It'd be very expensive. And even if they did, once you cook the egg, fish oil can't be heated. It destroys the EPA and DHA. Unless they put an additive called astaxanthin in there, which they don't. So no good. So now, dairy. Wow, the other big bad guy, right? You have Greek yogurt at night, like for your snack?
That's my dessert.
Yeah. You're gonna die! Oh no! So, dairy, the other thing that we see prominent in the food guide. Oh my god, dairy is so horrible. Okay?
All dairy?
All complete dairy is horrible unless you can find raw milk that has been out of the cow for less than 2 hours, which is going to be high in colostrum. You cannot cool it. You need to drink it warm. You need to drink the fat with it. There's very high antibodies at that point. After 2 hours later, don't touch it. You're going to die.
So you can't do dairy, you can't drink soy. What are we supposed to do?
You can have almond milk, flax milk, hemp milk. How about drinking water?
It sucks.
In your coffee, put coconut oil in it.
Butter.
So,
It's like coconut oil.
what's that?
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
Like not coconut milk, coconut oil.
Coconut oil. You can put coconut milk if you want. That's fine too.
In your coffee.
Yeah. Check the sugar content if you're having coffee in the morning because you don't want to set off that insulin, right? So hemp milk, I love hemp milk and flax milk. They're really great. And seeds, okay, because they're like, oh, you're shooting all grains, but hemp and flax are seeds. Seeds are not grains. Seeds are highly beneficial. Highly beneficial, unlike grains. Yes, they still contain some phytic acid and lectins like grains do, okay, but it's like 70,000 versus like 200, which your body can absolutely handle 200, because all foods have some lectin content, but seeds is next to nothing. Right? Especially if it's chia seeds, oh man, those are so good. You have to put them in coffee, obviously. But flax milk and hemp milk, check the sugar content on the coconut milk to be sure. Alright, so you can do that. One single dairy product that gets a pass is pasture-fed non-GMO ghee, G-H-E-E. It is clarified Indian butter that they use in the Middle East. When they clarify this butter, and you want a pasture-fed non-GMO because you don't want the bioaccumulation of grains in it, it removes the casein, it is lactose-free, all the bad parts.